I've been quiet of late. Quiet on the whole social media communication. Sorry, I'm just scratching my eye. Quiet on the whole social media communication front. So I'm most active really on Instagram, but as of late I haven't posted anything in a while. So just to give a brief update for people who don't follow or read Instagram, you're not missing anything. But this time I really feel, I do group guided meditations on Instagram, and I had intended to do them also on Zoom, and I just haven't felt moved to organise all of that. And there tends to be a few people on Instagram who would regularly log into the live meditations. So if I start doing them on Zoom, I'll probably lose the people on Instagram and so on. And at this stage, and the way the energy is and what's unfolding around us, I just feel moved to continue doing what I'm doing at the moment. So I do about maybe 2 to 4 group meditations a week on Instagram. They're free, anyone can log in, donations graciously accepted. So if you feel you'd be curious about them, they last between 30 and 45 minutes, and I would guide people into an energetic space. And then there would be, sometimes there's light language, and there would be just a bit of a talk in a sense of what's going on, whatever I feel moved to say at those times. So I'll also say that from Monday the 20th of April until the 24th, Monday to Friday, at 6 p.m. London time, GMT time, I intend to do a workshop, a continual workshop for those 5 days, which will again last about 45 minutes. And over those 5 days, same deal. There'll be guided meditation. I'll guide us into stillness, and then a little bit of communication about different topics such as death, because the coronavirus is there's a lot about death and rebirth in this. Also about sexual energy, circulating sexual energy, mirror and the reflection, and I'll talk a little bit about that there is no need to wake anyone up. No one is asleep. No one is asleep, and we're all asleep. So I've talked over the last couple of weeks in those guided meditations, and that's why, in a sense, that's why I haven't recorded any video or any podcast. I'll also say, obviously, for those who don't know, that these videos are now available. They're on iTunes. They're on pretty much all podcast apps. You can just search Spontaneous Evolution and you'll find me, so you don't have to go to YouTube and open a video and that kind of thing. But the time that we're in, for me, of this coronavirus, this is what I have been working towards for about 30 years, nearly 30 years. I'm 43. I started meditating at around 15, and I started looking into Hinduism and spirituality and Buddhism and meditation techniques and so on. And prior to that, I was, very suicidal at times, very depressed, and continuing through that time, it was, I was one of those people who didn't really want to be on this planet, didn't get it, didn't understand it, didn't fit in this human suit, didn't understand it, wanted out, wanted to go home for a long time, and, was at times deeply depressed and deeply suicidal at times. And as I gradually learned meditation and struggled with drink and drugs and eventually got sober, I think I'm sober since around the year 2000, maybe. I think it's the year 2000 or the year 2001. I think it's 2000. So, yes, about 20 years. So, and even after that, I've had a pretty fucking brutal life at times. A lot of it really between my own ears. My own perception, my own fucking anger, my own challenges and frustration about who I am, what this place is, and how to adapt to this place, which I found very difficult at times, And then probably, I'm giving you the short version. I could go on for hours about this, but maybe around 2007, 2008, I properly began to fall apart, and that took 10, 11 years. It was 10, 11 years of being broken down. Gradually, long-term relationship falling apart, and money falling apart, and income and work and different things. I retrained when the economic crash happened. I retrained in a couple of different careers, and even with my training and my abilities, I was around people who were making an awful lot of money in what we were doing, and it just wasn't. It was like every door was closed. It's like, no, you can hang around, but it's you're not going through the door. So, eventually I fell into this path, and I've talked about that before. 2-3 years ago, in medicine ceremonies, I was shown and I was told, like, there's something fucking huge coming. And I can remember sitting in the circles afterwards when we'd wind down and we'd all share, and I could not contain myself at times, and I said, there's something huge coming. I don't know what it is. And I felt at times that I was, I don't even have the terminology, but I felt at times that I was going to explode, both in ceremony and out of ceremony at times. And I didn't know if I would physically, if my nervous system and the physical body would be able to survive this energetic shift, whatever it may be, but that there was something huge coming. And there were other insights, or for want of a better word, predictions that I had that did come to fruition and did come true, that I won't bother going into now. But it's taken me a while to see that right now is exactly what I've come for, come into this experience for. And the odds are, if you're listening to this video, or this podcast, or whatever you want to call it, and if you follow my work, you come here for this too. This is it. This is what I've been looking for nearly 30 years and beyond. This is the later stages of ancient Egypt, of moving out into the world and being deconstructed, or choosing to hand back my abilities and my power, because that's where the expansion is. I know I'm preaching to the converted here, that the purpose of this experience in the human realm is not to be full of bliss and joy and light all the time. That's boring as fuck. There's no point going into a computer game when you know all the moves, you know how to pass every level. Yeah, you do it a few times and it's like, well, I can get through every level pretty quickly, it's easy. The challenge is getting killed again and again and finding your way through the level, the techniques, the little moves of how to pass this challenge this time. That's what we've come in for. And that has been one section of the overall trajectory of our consciousness and our higher selves. I'm just talking post-ancient Egypt, or the fall of Egypt until now. So this is what we're here for. And it's a really interesting time for me to again see how wrong the mind gets it. How wrong, like it's a great time. I've had a great few days, not necessarily, if you know me and you've listened to my stuff, you know that I'm not really an excited person. I don't get all euphoric and fucking blissful, and it's just not really me. But I felt quite in my power the last few days, and I worked through a lot of very heavy stuff that I've had to face, and there's more to come. And I know that people listening to this have felt an awful lot of it as well. The grief in a big case is the falling away of the egoic perception of who we are. So this grief at this time, a big part of it is the falling away of the egoic perception of who we are. So the egoic perception is who we think we are. I've letters after my name, I earn X numbers of dollars or euros a year, I own 9 houses, whatever. I'm famous, I'm not famous, I have X number of followers on Instagram, my brand is X, Y, and Z. All of this it's window dressing, it's emptiness, it's so incomplete, and it's a straitjacket. And even in myself, I recorded a video around this time last year where I talked about letting go of the term queen maker and letting go of the term light worker and healer, because I unknowingly, my identity had attached to these things. I'm a healer, I'm a light worker, I'm a queen maker. And the emptiness or the lack of self-esteem attaches to these things and thinks, oh, that's who I am. So it's continually letting go of any of these things that I think, how I think I look, what age I am, how I earn my money or don't earn my money. All these little things, who I like, who I dislike, if they like me, if they dislike, if they love me, if they hate me, all these kind of things, if I feel welcome, all those layers become our identity. They attach to us. They attach to us is at the moment feels the right way to put it. I know we do, many of us do consciously attach to these things, I have written a new article. I have recorded a new video. My new work is coming to the world, and we think that that's us. On some, even though if you communicate with most spirituality people, they say, "Oh no, I'm so much more than that. I know that this is just my work," but it is so deep. And of late, I've seen it reflected in others that I've worked with, of how hypnotized and blind they are, which obviously reflects back to me of how blind I can be with investing, knowingly or unknowingly. Certainly these days, I don't think I consciously invest in this stuff. I have nothing to invest in. I'm alone. Over these past 2 weeks, I barely communicate with anyone. I spend a lot of time, despite our lockdown, I tend to live as normal. I drive around, I go for walks, I go to supermarkets, I buy coffees, I don't social distance, I don't own any hand sanitizer or face mask, I don't do any of these things. I have not felt moved to do any of these things, and I'll explain why in a moment. But to say that I'm in a very gifted place, in a sense, in that I have very little left to lose. I've lost almost everything. I mean, I'm not in a doorway. I'm still living in my car. The weather here has been amazing. It's pissing rain at the moment, but we've had like a great maybe 10 days of sunshine and almost summer weather. It's been lovely. So I've been out and walking and sitting in the sun and reading, and I've spent many hours just being still, genuinely just I can feel when the intensity, I think I'm in the stage or early stages or some level, I don't understand it, of a Kundalini awakening, whatever that may mean. And I know that that's continuous, like the word awakening as well. But my energy is extreme at times at the moment. And I need to set aside time, maybe a couple of hours in the morning, a couple of hours in the evening, just to actually sit. And just to be in the body and to witness whatever frequency is passing through me and allow it to integrate, allow it to settle, and then I can move on. If I don't do that, I become very rattled. All that energy ends up in the head, very analytical, on social media, watching YouTube videos, distracted, eating shit, just ungrounded and all over the place. So I have to take that time to keep coming back. But this is really, it really is an incredible time. The energy is incredible. The potential right now to further our own growth and expansion is electric, is really incredible. Now, to dip very quickly into the corona and the deaths and things, personally, I'm not obviously reading the news. I don't watch TV or any of that kind of thing. I'm not paying any attention. I'm aware at times of, I see snippets or hear it on the radio, maybe if I'm driving, snippets of what's going on. It's all pain body stuff. It's all lower chakra stuff. So a lot of my work over the last few weeks, and I think generally long term, has been mainly the first 3 chakras to move us into the 4th. So that's what I'm working with in people. The world is purging the first 3 chakras, all that fear and control and anger and all that stuff that we need released to move forward, to move into higher, be it the 12 chakra system. I've never really talked about chakras. They've never been on my wavelength. I've never really felt moved, but of late I do a little bit, to allow this energy up. So that's where our work is. Now it's the ego that thinks, I want to get to the heart expansion. I want to get to the crown. That's the ego looking. So in wanting, I don't know if I want to go anywhere, because at this stage I'm I'm on the train. It's like, I'm happy to be on the train. I'm on the journey. This is good. Let's see where it goes. I want to keep facilitating this movement as opposed to trying to steer it and direct it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know where it'll go. That's okay with me. If I can tune in and observe it and let it happen and let it take its own course. But it really is an epic time. I don't really believe, like, so the news and those kind of things, I don't really believe. And I maybe about 2 weeks ago, my instinct was confirmed really in that I'd say many people at this stage know, because it's kind of spread like wildfire. But the mislabeling of bodies and counts has been a real red flag, and has been a hole in the whole corona awakening. You know, that if you die with a heart attack and maybe you have a temperature, in some countries they'll put it down as you're now a corona statistic. You died from it. So I don't really believe any of that. Of course there is a virus, and of course people are dying, but you know what? People die all the time. I think in New York around 7,000 people die a day, and in the UK 1,200 people die a day. This is a part of life. But we have in the West are really insulated from death. You know, we're rarely around. Old people go to old folks' homes. Sick people go to a hospital. We don't really see them. We don't pay much attention, unless it's someone really directly we're connected to. So we have no awareness of death. I've never been worried of the corona awakening at all. It hasn't frightened me at all. What did frighten me at times was people. People do stupid and dangerous things when they get afraid. That's that's more of a threat. But it is a great time to look beyond all the hysteria and be able to integrate that. Really keep bringing it home. That's why I'm keeping myself to myself. I'm working with me. I'm giving a lot of time and attention to my own energy and my own frequency. What's passing through me? Witness what's passing through me. And I am definitely being challenged, you know, by a few people around me at times who can be in contact, or you know, at times I stopped opening Instagram because I'd open it to respond to a message or to put up a story, and I might see one, I might even see faces of people. Or I might see one message, you know, be it uplifting or blissful or whatever it may be, and that was just like, oh, that's too much stimulation. I've overload flowing through me. It's like I don't need to read any of these things of other people's frequencies. No, I don't want that. So I step back, you know, and it's like my time is going for me. Yeah, as I to repeat myself, I see this as such great, with a capital G, a great time. This is the Great Awakening, you know, or the potential for. And to say also that the speed that this will pass depends on our ability to be present with what's passing through us. The speed that this will pass depends on our ability and depth of presence to be present with what's passing through us. What I mean by that is, this could drag on for months. You know, we could be on lockdown, there could be forced vaccinations, all those things. Not that that's a bad thing, and not that that's a problem. Nothing is a problem to a free person. If I'm free, I don't give a fuck what other people are doing. I don't really give a fuck what they do to me. I'm free. We've been slowed down to witness and be present. Some people at this time have dived into workaholism. You know, they're using this time to like paint the house, do this, do that, catch up on loads of work, and it's just like they're working more than they worked when they were fucking, you know, going to work every day. Other people are lost, obviously, in Netflix and the next box set and TV all day, and it's escapism. So this for them, now when I say this, I don't necessarily mean lockdown, not returning to work, but this energy will drag. It'll take a while to work through this. Personally, I've been working towards this all my life, or maybe many lifetimes. So my movement is, 3, 4, 5, depending, hours a day to be present with this and to witness. Now, I wish I could do more. I wish I was doing more. There are times that I feel I'm not as present, and that at this time I feel I'm wasting. So I'd like to give more attention to this witnessing and this integration, because what's on the other side of it is great, is freedom, or more freedom, I should say. And I don't know what else. I don't know. I haven't got there yet. You know, it's like I talked to someone earlier or during the week about unconditional love, that there's someone, a friend in my life, that I kind of felt, oh, I don't like what this person is doing, so I mustn't unconditionally love them. And I felt really bad, and I thought, oh fuck, that's really disappointing. Why can't I love them unconditionally? And there's two answers to that. One is because there's still layers and layers and layers for me to learn to unconditionally love myself and accept myself. We can't love someone else until we completely, we can only love someone else to the degree that we love ourselves. But the other reason is that, of course, I can unconditionally love this person to that degree, but I don't have to like what they're doing or agree with what they're doing. I can still unconditionally love them. So we're limited in our awareness of what's going on. So this awakening and what's on the other side of it, of course I don't know what it's like. I have ideas, but they're only egoic ideas. And maybe they've come through me, and they may be true, but they're not yet experiential. They're informational. And as you know, if you've listened for a while, like, I'm moving away from information. The mind, more and more, and even since the start of this year, a few people I've worked with, I've encountered the destruction that the mind brings. It's so compartmentalized. It's so limited. It's oil and water. The mind is oil. The heart is water. They cannot mix. You can't mix information with a frequency, with an emotion. Now, yes, they can work together and they can complement each other. That is the heart mind, and that's when the mind becomes the servant rather than the master. And many of us are mastered by the mind. We've invested so heavily in information, and now, especially at the time of Corona, we're seeing that that's run its course for many people. And, watching videos or reading books or acquiring information is running its course, and people are in pain. So I've stopped working. I've stopped working with people at the moment. I don't want that degree of mind. I'm not going to work with that degree of mind in a person anymore. I feel as I shift higher, that the client that I attract who's ready, matches my frequency in a sense. They're ready to go where I can take them. And we're in a different stage now than we were a month ago. A very, very different energetic place. I did experience this maybe a year or 2 years ago, when I felt that I was more wishy-washy and I was lighter with people I was working with. And when I kind of doubled down on a more intense work, more direct, I then drew in people who were ready for that, as opposed to people who were kind of wasting time or looking for the next course to do, or not really committed, or looking for excuses and escapes. Excuse me. So I drew in people who were fucking at the end of the line. And it's those people that bring me further. And it's those people that have great shifts, because they're ready. They know instinctively on some level. They're complete with the other stuff. Time to move on. Spirit knows. Let's go to work. So it's felt right to stop work with people. Now, I do have 1 or 2 clients at the moment that I'll see out the period of working with them. That's fine, because things are going well. But I'm not sure when. Now, this could be tomorrow. By the time this video is released, I might even be taking new clients. I have no idea how it'll work. But it's the right time to continue working with me and clearing what's passing through. So I'd encourage anyone to what's essential in these moments is to be present with yourself, and to allow yourself your deconstruction and your humiliation and your pain. Part of the group meditations for me is to face my humiliation. At times, being on camera with a group of people, I feel utterly empty. I feel utterly humiliated. So that's why I continue to do it, that those pieces need to be integrated. The ego will say, oh, don't go on camera until you feel brilliant. And then you can emanate your light to the world. But that's all very indulgent. That's the old world stuff. That's last month's stuff. So it'll be interesting doing the week long, if I do it, and if I feel moved to do it next week, and to see, well, what state will I be in then? Will I fall apart in front of everyone? Quite likely. Tune in for the car crash. Please be gentle. So that's where I am. that's why I've been quiet. I know I've said it so many times, but it's such an epic time. It's an epic time to be present with yourself, with who's being born within you, and who's dying. The corona, the crown awakening. But don't focus too much on your crown. Know that in order to get to the crown, there's a journey through all those other seals of energy. There's a flushing out. So whatever you're presented with in any moment, bring all of that home. That grief or that loss or that heartbreak or that emptiness or that who am I, that shame, that feeling of rejection or whatever it may be, or joy or bliss, allow all of it. And also just keep a little observation at times of like, am I intending this? Am I trying to fuel this or create this? Or am I just allowing consciousness to pass through me, whatever it may be? So subtly the ego will attach to the idea of like, this feels really good. I'm going to make it better and fuel it, and it's going to last for all day and forever. And then the ego's fucking all over it like oil. Yeah, there are other beings working with us as well, you know, and to know in your heart that whatever is presented to you is purposeful. Find your center and find your power. 2 or 3 nights ago, during a journey myself, I encountered 2 reptilians. And as you know from my previous videos, I've had a good number of encounters at this stage with them, and I feel that I am reptilian anyway. I'm reptilian, living a parallel, I can't think of the word at the moment, consecutive, is that the word? I don't know, another lifetime at the moment as a young reptilian. And basically between my human and between my reptilian energies, we're sharing, as each of us integrates, we're sharing that information and that energy field. And two reptilians appeared and worked with me as my reptilian, and worked with my the first 3, but mainly the first 2 chakras. And it was kind of like witnessing 2 car mechanics go to work, you know, and clear out old information or old energy or old data that was no longer necessary, and then allow that energy to circulate freer, you know, and at a much more forceful rate. You know, the energy is very strong at the moment. Anyway, I don't think I've anything else to say, and this has been a long message, but maybe because I've been quiet for a while. So thanks for listening, and be free. You know, if you're curious about the week-long or the group meditations, you can open an Instagram account. You don't have to upload images or any of that kind of thing. It can be a blank account, and in that you can just follow me. I'll put a link below this as my Instagram handle, and they may be of interest to you or not. But in case I haven't said it already 20 times, this is a really, really important and great time. That doesn't mean that it's going to be all bliss and joy and light. There's great transition. And for some of you who I know are listening to this and who I've worked with recently, there's great pain coming. There's serious fucking challenges. In a sense, I'm lucky now that I have had to face a lot of that over the last 3 years. So this kind of lockdown thing for me is like, oh, okay, I've been doing it for 3 years anyway, or more. So I can kind of handle this at the moment. This is kind of run of the mill in a sense. But some people are underwater and they're struggling, and the mind is really battling. There's no way through. It's not there's no way through that, but there's no way around it. You know, the best thing I can suggest to anyone is set aside time. Feel what's passing through you. When you find yourself analysing or thinking, abandon it as quickly as you can and come into the body. That's the quickest way to integrate and the fastest way through any of this. And for me, I feel that as we evolve and as we do this work, the flow of energy, you know, like a river, we are the banks of the river. We're simply witnessing this water, this consciousness passing by. So imagine the banks trying to restrict that flow, or wonder, why is it really light and why is there no water, or why is the water flowing over the banks? It's none of your business. Witness it. Allow it to do its thing, allow it to overflow, allow it to dry up, allow it to do whatever it wants to do. But in my experience, and I think with the people I'd work with, I think they'd agree that as we witness and as we become more present, the volume of water, of consciousness, the intensity is turned up. It becomes more powerful. There's more force in it. So when we move into the brain, then into the mind, into the ego, there's more potential to get lost very quickly, confused very quickly, stressed and just fucked up very quickly. So, and I've seen that lately with people as well that I've worked with, so that the quicker we can step out of that, abandon the information, any insights you need. I'm not saying the mind is useless, but any insights you need, you'll be hit over the head with them. They're in your being. They don't have to be analysed through, especially in those moments that your energy is intense, that the flow is on. When the flow is on, witness the flow, abandon the mind. Any insights will be recorded, will be dropped in, those downloads will happen. And then as the flow settles, there might be space to integrate whatever that information was, and it may come to you. But in those heavy days, give as much time as you can to simply feeling. I'd say I go into a lot more detail on this in the group meditations. But anyway, thanks for listening. I'll put some links below, and be well.